Thanks for inviting me up today to talk a little bit about permanganate products and odor control. We receive an awful lot of phone calls and questions about odor control using permanganate products. It's probably a good idea to just get together and review some of the basics, right, of what permanganate techniques are all about. So this is not a new concept. This is really goes back decades of permanganate research and also research into odor control in general. Just how do you collect odors? What do you do with them after you collect them? How do you destroy odors? And in fact, back in the late 60s and early 70s, we did a lot of research work with using permanganate as a concentrated solution to just wash and clean odorous air and determine at that time what compounds react with permanganate and which ones don't. So we know quite a bit right now, and we have a short list of compounds that we can actually share with people who have questions. So odor control as a concept is really pretty easy to understand and get your arms around, although the actual techniques of controlling odors is a little bit more difficult to do. And that's because our sense of smell, which is our best monitor for odors, is really very sensitive. So we can pick up odorous compounds even at very, very low concentrations. That means that your control technique has to be very, very efficient. In a lot of cases, 80% removal or 90% removal is really not sufficient enough to do good odor control. So the idea of odor is really a very simple concept. And there are really four building blocks that provide the foundation for that as well. So an odor is really a chemical compound that is volatile, so it's in the air, and our olfactory system, our nose, can pick it up and we react to that particular compound. The four building blocks behind that concept are really the concentration of the compound in the air, which affects to what degree and how we identify what that particular odor is. Second building block is its intensity. That's really how our system responds to that particular chemical. The third area is its characteristic. That's a defined idea, a category of compounds that we identify and can associate with. So it might be something like fishy odor or medicinal odor, or sweet or fruity kinds of odors. Are the typical types of characteristic. Very similar to how we might associate tastes in foods that we eat or beverages that we drink as well. And the final concept is really its tone, and that is really nothing more than us identifying whether an odor is pleasant or unpleasant, basically. So why is permanganate an effective technique? Well, it turns out that the odor compound itself and our response to it is really basically because of its structure and also different types of functional groups that are present on that structural backbone. And permanganate is really very, very effective in its oxidation chemistry at attacking different types of functional groups. So if we can attack and destroy those groups, we can often get rid of the characteristic odor that's associated with it. So permanganate is very good and likes to attack unsaturated organic materials, so double bonds or triple bonds are typically attacked very quickly and very readily by permanganate. And we have organic sulfur groups or organic nitrogen groups, which often have a very characteristic type of odor that we attack very, very easily as well. Then we have alcohol groups, aldehyde groups, esters, all those types of groups which provide some type of odor characteristic are attacked by permanganate. So there are really two techniques that we use now for using permanganate to treat odors. The most common one now is to, in fact, inject the permanganate solution into the odorous water or into the odorous sludge and destroy the odor compounds before they're released into the air. The second technique is the one that I mentioned earlier, where we wash the odorous air with a concentrated permanganate solution, usually by bubbling the air through a tank of permanganate that's been prepared in advance. One of the fun aspects of doing odor control is that we get involved in a variety of different industries. So some of them actually produce odors that to us would seem to be quite pleasant. For instance, maybe a bakery or a coffee roaster or some type of food processing industry. But when you're exposed to that odor for 365 days a year, sometimes it gets to be a little bit obnoxious. And of course, there are a lot of industries where the odors really are rather unpleasant. And certainly we know that the decomposition of protein material releases a lot of odorous compounds that we respond to in a rather negative way. Typically today, one of the industries that we work with most often is the industrial or municipal wastewater treatment market, where we can have odors such as hydrogen sulfide produced and other types of organic sulfur compounds. And permanganate reacts with those quite well. And we do very, very fast removal of odor in those particular situations. So that's a very quick review of permanganate chemistry and odor compounds. If you have more questions, please feel free to contact us or go to our website and look for more information there.